The studio lights dimmed slowly, like the beginning of a dream. A hush rolled across the America's Got Talent audience, spreading from row to row until the whole arena seemed to hold its breath. The stage glowed a faint blue, and a single spotlight cut through the darkness. A small figure stepped into it, a teenage Filipino boy, no more than 15 or 16. His posture was shy yet strangely confident, like someone who knew the world was watching but felt ready for it. His hair had the classic Elvis curl, shaped not as a parody but as a tribute, and his jacket sparkled with retro rhinestones that shimmered when the light touched them. Simon Cowell leaned forward, eyebrows tightening with curiosity. Something about this boy's presence felt familiar. Almost haunting. The boy lifted the microphone. People expected a polite introduction, maybe a nervous laugh, but he simply nodded at the judges, swallowed, and waited for the music director's cue. When the opening guitar riff of an Elvis classic hummed through the speakers, the audience murmured. Some giggled. Others whispered, "Is he really going to try Elvis?" After all, Elvis Presley was not merely a singer, he was legendary, unmatched, and untouchable. Many had tried to imitate him, but few succeeded. Most ended up as gimmicks, costumes without soul. But this boy wasn't smiling like a pretender. He looked calm, solemn, almost reverent. Then he lifted one foot slightly and tapped it on the stage. The motion was smooth, perfectly timed, the exact rhythmic foot tap the king himself used in his early performances. It didn't feel mimicked, it felt effortless, instinctive. Some audience members frowned, confused. How could a teenager from the Philippines replicate something so specific? And then he sang. The first note that left his mouth was deep, warm, and rich, not a child's voice at all, but something full-grown, golden, and timeless. It was the kind of voice that filled every corner of a room, the kind that made people forget to blink. The audience went silent in an instant. Their bodies froze. Heidi Klum's eyes widened. Sofia Vergara put a hand on her chest. Even Simon's stoic expression flickered. The sound was unmistakable. The tone, the vibrato, the depth, it wasn't just close to Elvis Presley. It felt like Elvis was standing on that stage again, alive, reborn, and singing as if no time had passed. A woman in the audience whispered shakily, "Oh my God, it's him." Each word the boy delivered seemed soaked in soul. He didn't force anything, he didn't exaggerate the accent or posture. He simply was. His voice vibrated with a natural bluesy grit that shouldn't have belonged to someone so young. When he hit the first chorus, his body flowed into a gentle hip swing, not overly dramatic, not comedic, but elegant and smooth, like a memory replaying itself. People began rising from their seats, not in a sudden burst but slowly, almost unconsciously. One by one, as if magnetized, they stood. The energy in the room shifted. The atmosphere thickened with awe. Sophia leaned into Simon and whispered, "This feels like Elvis came back." The boy slid across the stage in a move so precise and iconic that the crowd gasped. Phones shot into the air. The cheering started softly, building like a wave until it roared. He transitioned into the second verse with even more strength, his voice glowing with an emotion beyond his years. His eyes were shut as if he were channeling something, as if the music were flowing through him rather than coming from him. During the bridge, he unleashed a soaring note that no one expected. It wasn't just impressive, it was electrifying, powerful, and pure. Simon's eyes widened. The note echoed in the rafters like a spirit shaking the walls. People screamed, clapped, cried. Some covered their mouths. Others shouted, "Elvis! Elvis!" Not as a joke, but as a reaction they couldn't help. When he finished the final line, he dropped into a classic Elvis bow, one hand behind him, one extended outward. For a heartbeat, absolute silence fell. Not because they were unimpressed, but because the moment felt unreal, as if they were waking from a shared dream. Then the room exploded. Cheers thundered. The crowd stomped their feet. The judges rose to their feet instantly, giving him a standing ovation so powerful it felt like an earthquake. Sophia was crying openly. Heidi clapped over her head. Howie Mandel shook his head in disbelief. The boy lowered his gaze, trembling, overwhelmed. He had expected applause, maybe some kind words, but not this. Not a reaction so intense it physically vibrated the stage beneath him. Simon Cowell remained standing but didn't clap. Instead, he stared at the boy with an expression that no one had seen before, soft, nostalgic, thoughtful. Like he was recalling something long buried, something he believed he'd never experience again. Finally, Simon spoke, his voice firm but emotional. "I've been doing this a long time," he said slowly. "I've seen thousands of performers. But what you just did, that wasn't an impression. That wasn't mimicry. You didn't pretend to be Elvis Presley." He paused, letting the silence thicken. "You brought him back." The audience roared even louder. The boy clasped both hands over his mouth, shaking. Simon continued, "I felt something tonight I never thought I'd feel again. That raw magic. That soul. That presence. You didn't just sing a song, you transported all of us back in time." He looked down at the golden buzzer in front of him. Then he looked up again. "There is only one thing I can do for a moment like this." Before anyone could predict it, he slammed his hand down on the golden buzzer. A cannon of gold confetti erupted from the ceiling like a shimmering waterfall. The music swelled. The crowd went wild, screaming louder than before. The boy sagged to his knees, overwhelmed by emotion. Tears streamed down his face as confetti stuck to his hair, his jacket, his trembling hands. Sophia and Heidi rushed to the stage, hugging him as gold continued to rain down. Simon watched, arms crossed but eyes shining with pride. The boy looked up at the confetti-filled sky, whispering something under his breath.